I wanted to find a sound that would sound full enough even with just one electric guitar and a vocal. So our objective with this practice is to be able to chordally play every interval of a sound from every degree in a set position. I wanted that sharp 4 there. So let us start, and I think it's gonna make a lot more sense once we get going. Hello everybody, and welcome to today's episode. Today's been a bit of a weird day. As some of you might know, my country is once again on fire across the northern region, so Macedonia and Thrace. Yeah, it's really sad. A lot of those regions and the forest land and stuff that's burned, and you know, I've visited as a kid, and now they're all gone, and life has been lost, and property has been lost, and it appears to be a cocktail of both nefarious activity and also criminal neglect from our state. So yeah, I was in two minds, like, about getting on camera and filming videos, because you know, I might not be my usual cheery self, but then again, I thought I'd do the vlog anyways, because I love our new weekly habit and I love to share with you guys. Today we're going to talk about something that's been developed sort of for me in the last 2 years. As some of you might know, I've spent much of my time in the last 2 years playing solo, although that's about to change. Got a killer band together, and I'm excited for the shows to come. And anyway, when I embarked on this sort of quest, I wanted to find a sound that would sound full enough even with just one electric guitar and a vocal, and also a way that would allow me the freedom to like sort of play around with parts and mix them up on the spot and stuff. So that, you know, was the beginning of a really interesting journey for me, and I ended up sort of adopting some habits, and I thought I'd share them with you. Now those habits, approaches, you can call them, are not just tailored for people who play solo. You know, you can take a lot of those elements and adopt them in a band setting. Of course, when you play in a band and you've got other instruments that take a certain part of the range, then you might need to adjust them to the range that you need to fill. But I think they're really cool stuff. So I'm gonna set up, I'm gonna grab my guitar, you can do the same, and I'll see you in a momento. So when I set out on this journey of exploration, of trying to adapt those sort of bigger productions into a solo setting, I had a few things in mind as a goal. You know, I wanted to be able to create parts that sounded quite beefy, and also to have the ability to have a lot of movement in my rhythm playing, especially on the top. It's quite unlikely, apart from a few sort of select songs, that I will have something on the bass other than the root of the chord that I'm playing. But you know, as far as the top part is concerned, I wanted to be able to sort of create a lot of movement and a lot of intensity while staying true to the songs, and of course not getting in the way of the vocal. And you know, depending on the song, that, you know, some songs would offer me more space, others not so much. And what that led to is more of a 2-note chordal approach, as opposed to maybe the more traditional, I don't know, 4-note, 5-note, 6-note sort of playing bar chords approach. I thought I'd give you a little bit of a practicing tool so that you can actually start exploring parts in that way. And then I'll be also breaking down maybe 1 or 2 parts from the live album where I'm playing solo, and compare them to the original version, and see how they sort of how they evolved in that sort of solo version exploration. Okay, let's check it out. So our objective with this practice is to be able to chordally play, and by chordally mean have them ring at the same time, every interval of a sound. In our case, it's going to be the major scale, starting from every degree of that scale in a set position. The reason why I want us to be able to play it chordally is because that's how we're going to use it in our accompaniment setting. You know, I'm not going to be playing them as single notes. In the case of, you know, how I developed the riffs, it was a lot of quite intense sort of strumming, or more delicate parts, maybe hybrid picking. But you know, it was I wanted to hear the sounds together, so we want to train our fingers to be able to memorize those intervallic forms. Okay. Now, as far as how we're going to play them, you know, that depends on the part, and it depends on the intensity of the song. You know, for me, you know, again, it's largely a rock. It's a rock sound, but with a lot of other influences. So a lot of times I want to be quite. I'm doing my eighth note downstroke thing. So I'll need to be able to play them with my pick. But also some of them are just really hard to get clean with the pick, especially when we talk about intervals that are like 2 octaves up. So I might get my fingers involved. And on that note, some intervals are easier to play for certain things in certain positions. So although I'm going to be demonstrating the practice in one position, it's important to do this in other positions as well, so that you get the various different forms of the same intervals. So let us start, and I think it's going to make a lot more sense once we get going. So I'm going to be in G major, and you know, when you do this, I think objectively, especially if you're accompanying yourself on your own, where you want to have a low bass, you're probably going to find this mostly useful with the roots on the low E and the A string. Anything higher than that, it might be very useful when you're like in a band setting where there's someone else covering maybe the bass, but in this case it's not going to be as useful, but I will demonstrate it regardless. Let's start on the 1, and I know I'm a big fan of the number system as far as harmony. I think it's the best way to connect with a harmony and stuff, but anyhow, this is not the lesson for that. So we're going to start with the 1 G, and we basically want to play every interval in relation to our G. The intervals that are on the same strings, of course we can't play them quarterly because we can't have them both ring at the same time, but let's do them regardless so they have no complaints. 2, 3, am I recording? Yes. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, F, 10, whatever, 3 over the octave, 11, 5, 13, major 7. See, this one is kind of hard to get with a pick. I'll have to finger it. Root, and see, that's a 9 over the, so it's 2 octaves second, so maybe we'll call this 18, we'll break new ground. Now I've got all those intervals in my disposal, and of course intervals are sounds, they're colorations, so you know, it's going to open up maybe sounds that you hadn't explored before. Now we're going to do the same for the second degree, A, which is, you know, produces a minor chord, and so we're going to have the second, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 8, 9, 3 over the octave 10, 11. See this one? See the 11 I'll probably play in a different position, like that's easier. It's what I was saying about before. 5, 6, flat 7, 8. And we want to do the same from the 3, so 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 5, flat 6, flat 7. Okay, and then the fourth, which gives us that Lydian vibe, beautiful sound. Yeah, see, hard to play. And the 5. And again, if you're playing solo, that's the kind of range you'll probably navigate, because then it's going to be too top-endy. But let me demonstrate a few more. So let's say we're on the 6th degree, E. We're going to have E, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 8, and then 9, flat 3, or flat 10th, 11. So the fact that we're getting all those intervals ingrained in our fingers in relation to the harmony, okay, and being able to play them in a way where you can hear them all together, it will be really helpful in creating like comping layers that have a lot of movement on the top. So let's say we want to create something now, for example. Let's set our progression. Let's do something poppy like 1 4 2 5, for example. So 1 4 2 5, and I want to have like some sort of hook on the top while maintaining a sense of our harmony. So I was jamming on something before. So if I want to keep this going, and I do love that, I do love having something going on top that doesn't change, but then the harmony changes, so it does, the coloration of it kind of changes, but it also stays the same. So it's a familiar sound that almost gets reinvented every time. So I can do that. See, this is where I was saying in the beginning, there might be other positions that are more suited for the type of, you know, riff and stuff that you're coming up with. So for example, in relation to my 2, that's the, I'm sort of hammering on from the 1 to the 9, and then 6 6 flat 7. So I might want to do it here. Because it's a little bit easier on the fingers, and you know, if it was like a softer part, that would have been, you know, a bit easier. But because of its punch, I'm gonna adapt this, and adapting is fine. I mean, it's you know, you want to, that's where you want to do the work, so you can adapt stuff fairly quickly. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the 5, which I think is better. Like, so all together. And again, you know, much of that stuff is sort of like a taste thing, but you know, I feel that you get something that's that does have a lot of excitement. There's, you know, time and a place for everything, but it's good to have that option. And again, this is a great tool to bring into a band setting as well, because you can come up with a lot of riffs. I mean, I could probably make a song of that previous thing and, you know, develop it with drums and bass. It's just that then you have to manage, you know, range and you know, if you got 2 guitar players, you know, you gotta think this through. Like if I had another guitar player, maybe it'd be better for one guitar to do and the other guitar player do. But again, it's just a tool for creativity, and I will show you how I took some elements and adapted them for my own songs, of course, as I said in the beginning. But before I do that, I want to talk about the other thing which I think is very important, and it's kind of twofold. Is the ability to play all those you know, to play the intervals from every degree in various different ways. Like I've demonstrated before, when it came to the 2 chord A minor, it was harder to play my, you know, to hammer on to my 9th while I'm like in a behind the root position, as I call it, place, if I'm picking it. So it was better for me to be able to say, okay, well, I can see my 9th here and do that. So it's very important to practice the same sounds with, you know, in various forms. So because those will serve different things, you know. And the other thing is to be able to move all the intervals across, and this is something to do in time, in a linear or horizontal. I can never quite get this. I'm always confused about this. That way. And of course, you one step at a time. You can just start with, let's start in the key of G and start on with the root on the low E string, and, you know, work on our, you know, on our seconds. So we want to be able to do this. I love seconds. Oops, if you've heard me play, you know this by now. I love those clusters as well. Okay. And you want to be able to do the same for that interval, but spread. So for the 9ths in this variation. But also you want to do this in this variation. this variation for that kind of style is it's a little bit, I don't think I've ever done that, but why not? You want to be able to do this as well. It'll come in handy. Yeah, not for me. But you know, you want to be able to do this for all the intervals, and then that interval spread. It'll just liberate you. And again, because certain fingerings work better than others, it will mean that you can have a more flexibility, you know, when it comes to creating parts, or even if you want to make up parts on the spot. I would like to talk about a song Follow Me, the first part of the chorus. I'll just keep it nice and short. I wanted to create quite an emotive part that went along the vocals, but also had a lot of like intense energy, you know, because of the nature of the song. You know, it's a song about my grandfather. What I'll do is I'll play you the original chorus, the full band chorus, and then the intimate chorus. I'll use a clip of my concert film. Might as well use a live clip. Better energy than me sort of playing it here. And then I'll take you through the thought process. So let's first off break down the chords. The original version, the song is in E minor. The first part of the chorus, at least, which we'll be looking at, is E minor to G to C. I changed it. I changed the progression a little bit. I did go a bit cliche, but you'll see that with that kind of more expansive approach, it sounded quite cool, at least in my opinion. So I went E, C, G, D, and in the very last rep before the second part of the chorus, it goes to the 5 of E, so you know, like B major, B7. Now the original version is kind of more like single notes. And the solo version, you know, going off that sort of live clip, goes something like this. So I'm starting with like the spread third of E, and again, people, you know, they are rightfully fatigued because it seems like everyone is doing that. But it sounds good, you know. People do it because it sounds good. And again, if you do the thing I showed you, you're gonna explore way more than just the third. So you can add flavorings and stuff. But anyhow, I'm playing basically a third of E with an E ringing, and then a third of G, which is the you know, the third and the fifth of E. So nothing crazy, but I just like how you get a sense of the chord, and then it sort of inverts and it moves sort of higher. And then over the C, I wanted that sharp 4 there. I wanted that melody. Da, 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 da. And then, you know, obviously whenever you have an open string, it's a great advantage. The open strings sound really full and you can do really cool runs with them. So I decided to go with the vocals there. Da, da, na, na. So I'm following the vocals, and then the same thing. And then da, da, na, na. And then so after the D, I'm introducing the 5 of our E minor, my B, but I want to stay on the same note. I'm playing the diminished that comes off that B, and sliding in it, and then it's the second part of the chorus. So you can see how the approach that I talked about in the sort of the first portion is very much used here, and I think it's quite effective because there's a lot of movement, and because of the, you know, most of the intervals being over the octave, so, you know, spreading, you know, most of the intervals, I believe, here, there's a lot of range and a lot of, I don't know, I would say that in my mind things become a little bit wider and a little bit more melodious. I don't know, I think that's why at least in the guitar world we enjoy people like Metheny and Johnson that do tend to play a lot of those spread sounds, and there's just something nice about them. So I like to take them on board in a more you know, rock alternative kind of setting, and you know, I really enjoy that. So hopefully that kind of makes sense here. So I really hope you found this useful. Again, with those things, you know, they're quite complicated and they take time. So for me, as far as sort of really getting to grips with them, I would really push for consistency, as opposed to like sitting and, you know, doing a 10-hour session once every couple of weeks. And of course, those things are a lot more inspiring to work on if you have some sort of music. So, you know, start writing, you know, write a song, or maybe take a song that you love and try to create maybe some parts with that approach. I think that's a really good way that will sort of you know, ignite your creativity and keep you to, you know, want to really go deeper into this process. And you know, this process never ends. I mean, I'm still working on that stuff and try to you know, write new music and find new ways around that. But anyway, I hope that you found something useful, and if you end up writing something with that approach, and this, you know, is by no means like my approach, but it's just something that I stumbled upon by osmosis, and I just found that kind of interesting. Please send me a message. I'd love to hear. I love when you guys share your music with me. So please do that. And on that note, I'll see you next week. Take care. Oh yes, and I forgot I forgot the thing that you need to do if you're on YouTube. You do YouTube videos. Feel free to subscribe. I've got links to my works in the description and all that. And feel free to check out the previous episodes. There's some really fun ones there. So yeah, I think I've done my duty now. I can go. Bye bye.